What's going on, everybody? Edison T. Crux here, and welcome back to another How to Make a Nuzlocke tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you the very basics of Lightworks for video editing. This is, again, just the very basics because there's a lot to cover in this program. So let's start with the very basics. What is Lightworks? Lightworks is a video editing software that can handle multiple video tracks, which is extremely helpful for doing a layout with your Nuzlocke. If you want all the kind of fancy stuff, or maybe you want multiple screens or a face cam, any of that stuff, you're going to need multiple video tracks, most likely, to pull it off really well. And Lightworks can do that. And most importantly, Lightworks has a free version of it that is very powerful. There's a few features that you need the premium for, but for the beginner who's just starting their YouTube career, Lightworks can do what you need to do, most likely. It does have a bit of a steep learning curve, however, which is what I'm going to be here to help you learn what you need to do to get started making Nuzlocke videos, or actually editing Nuzlocke videos with Lightworks. So make sure you've got your raw footage recorded, you've made a layout, or perhaps adjusted the one that I already provided, and let's get started. So when you open up Lightworks, I'll have a link, by the way, to the website to get this. You'll just need to download it and also make an account, which is free. That's all it needs. You just have to have a little account to sign up with, but then you're ready to go. So you create a new project. That's how we start. You can name it. I already named mine, How to Make a Nuzlocke Tutorial. And frame rate, 30 frames per second, is perfect. You go ahead and hit create, and it is going to ask you to import some things. Now, this is obviously my heart gold stuff, but we're not going to be showing you how to do that right now. So importing is basically when you take the raw footage or graphics and import it into your kind of work project room. Think of it kind of like bringing all your stuff into your workshop. So right now I have this raw footage of a Fire Red Surge battle, and we're going to be using this. It's 14 minutes long. This is going to be the raw footage we're working with. This little thing here, if I can pull down, this is like your clips and all that stuff. Everything that you have imported is going to be in this little thing here. So if we just double click on this, you can see this little thing pops up. That's just like a little viewer. It'll let you see. Let's see, I recorded this on my tablet. And we can bounce around. And as you can see, it is some footage of Fire Red. Excellent. This is what we're going to be using for this tutorial, for this example. So, first thing we got to do is take this raw footage and drop it down into what's called an edit. Now, that's simple enough to do. From this point, assuming you just imported just this, you can go up, double click that, bring up this little viewer, find the starting point that you want it to start with. In this case, I want to wait a little bit. I'm just going to let it play until I get to the beginning of the game once the little opening stuff is done. All this stuff. Now, this particular clip does not have any volume, so you won't hear any volume over it. Normally, when you're doing clips, you'll have volume, and possibly even two tracks, one for your voice and one for the gameplay. For the convenience of not hearing gameplay jump in all the time, I use a clip that has no audio. So anyways, this is where I wanted to start. This little thing as an in mark. These little things are going to be the in and out marks that you'll use when using clips. This is kind of weird, so you might have to watch this a couple times for it all to make sense. That's cool. I know I did. Now, I want this to go all the way to the end. So as you see, there's like a little white mark here. That's the part that we're using in this little thing. Take it all the way to the end here. Or at least right about, I don't want to have that part where I save at the end. So we're just going to back it up just a little after we beat him. Just a moment. And that right here is where I want to end it. You can either just, they call it mark and park, where wherever you stop it is considered the out mark. Or you can use this little out mark to mark it. Again, if you just have it at a later point, it'll assume that. Now, these two buttons are what you're going to use to put it into an edit. Replace or insert. In this case, we can just do replace. Bam! Look at this. Now, you can now close this viewer. This is like just the clip that you have. And now that's been moved over to what is now the edit. Now, an edit is going to be multiple tracks. In this case, I don't have an audio track, but normally you would. I'm going to go ahead and add an audio track just so you can see it. You typically won't have to do this, but you'll see there's video track V1, audio track A1. This clip I have does not have any audio, so, you know, there's that. This viewer, it looks very much the same as the one over here, but it's actually a little different. This is showing the viewer of the edit, which right now it's exactly the same thing. If we hit play, you'll see, you know, starts playing, whatever. But as we add things, more things will show up here. So, you with me so far? Okay, cool. What we're going to need to do, first and foremost, is we want to add that cool layout, right? We just made one. So the way we're going to do that, remember I said this is multi-track editing. Down here in the edit viewer down here, this is where we're going to add it. So right-click somewhere over here, edit commands, add track. You saw me just a moment ago do this with audio, but we want to add a video track. We can name it in a moment. I find it's easier to do it after. And this is fine. We'll add that. That means there's another track, which means it's like another area of the video you can have. Now, real quick rundown on how to work with this editor. You'll notice, look next to my mouse, you'll see there's a little, like, I don't know how you describe it, little, like, left-handed, almost looks like a C, but it's marking, like, this side of the clip. Move over to here, you'll see it's like a little slider. And then over this side, it's the right side of the clip. If you want to move this clip around, you need to click in the kind of the middle area. If you click on either side, it's going to be assuming you want to adjust the length of that clip, which is not what we want to do right now. Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but that's just kind of what you're looking for. Now, if you want to go to a different point in your clip or in the edit, you want to click this little timeline area up here. If you click down here, it'll start having you adjust clips. So, like, if you click here, oh, yeah, that's not what I wanted to do. So, make sure if you want to move to a different spot in the edit, use this thing. Anyways, I want this clip, the raw surge battle clip, to be up on this V1, not V2, because the layout that I have is going to be below it. So, all I did was find that center area and just click and drag. Easy as that. Very cool. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to need to actually import another file. You can either do that using the Import Clips or Edits button, or you can click and drag from an open file browser. This time I'm going to use this button, but next time I'll use the other. So I have some graphics in here. This is the layout that I need for this. Oh, I just realized I actually made a mistake on that, so I'm actually going to need to remove that. So I opened up my GIMP with this layout here. Now I need to have this not visible. This is what I need right here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and export as, this is going to be layout 2, just because. In another video I cover how to do all of this stuff with GIMP, the very basics, but you're going to see it in action today. But today we're focusing on Lightworks. So we're going to import the correct layout that does not have that other image in it. And if you double click on this, you'll see, okay, cool. This is just a single image, it's not a video. So it only has a certain amount of stuff. You can either do the same way as you did before, either replace, or I believe you can just click and drag into the edit. Now it moved from being a clip that you imported into this one edit. Now you can't see it right now because, well, this fire red clip is too big. It covers the whole thing and you can't see what's below it. So how do we fix that? This is where the magic comes in with this, is you're going to either right click on the clip you want to change. In this case, it's going to be this fire red surge fight. Right click, and under Effects, Add, DVE. You can also go down here to Effects to find a similar setup. I usually find right-clicking is a little bit better for my uses, but you might find a different thing. DVE. Now this is a whole assortment of different things. This allows you to move it. So you can see it hiding back there. It allows you to change the size with the scale. And all kinds of other things. What we need to worry about first and foremost is, manually set that to exactly normal, is crop. Because as you can see, this particular clip, I think, even if I move this not quite correctly now. We'll figure it out. But as you can see, there's black to both sides and the bottom of this. So we need to crop that out. Easy enough to do. There's a slider. This crops from the left. And you just kind of crop until it's just about got it. Crop from the right. Same process. There we go. And crop from the bottom. And that looks just about right. There we go. Now, I don't know if the top needs any because I can't see the top as well. But now we can use this to reposition it. Or you can also go over here and click where it says Position DVE. Click and drag that to relocate it. Sometimes that can be a little squirrely, so your mileage may vary. I find this is a little bit more accurate, but to each their own. Now, this actually looks like it's right about the right size that I need. So I'm just going to reposition that a little bit. Now, you can see why I needed that image to be gone there, and this works perfect. So now, once that's all done, I click this X up here just to close this effects window out, which I don't really need at the moment. And now, if we hit play, we will see that this is going to be showing the edit, which is going to include the video clip and our layout on the side. Cool! This is what you've always wanted to see, right? This is what you want to be doing with your Nuzlocks. So we have the video track here with the nice little border going around it with all your cool Pokemon and stuff. Very cool. Now, we're going to run into another instance here where we're going to have to change this border. I'm just going to let this play until then, because our little sample guy is going to make a change to his team. He's going to switch out this Magikarp named Nagini for this Beedrill named Hannah. And gonna get confused in the process. So, that means that Nagini cannot be on this layout. That would not be accurate. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back a little bit down our edit part here. Back up just a little bit. You can also do it here, but with a clip this large, I find this goes a little easier. You want to find the point where the change happens. I'd say it's right about here. Perfect. We are now exactly on the frame that we want this change to happen. Now, I have my GIMP open while I'm editing this. So I know, okay, I need to change Nagini to Hannah. Open up GIMP. I have this file already open that I was working on, as you saw a moment ago. And I know that, okay, whatever one of these, I should have named these. I got it. I can make the Magikarp uncheck the little eyeball so you can't see it anymore. Now, I usually would prefer to keep the layer for the Magikarp there, but just invisible, if it's a Pokemon that I know I'm going to have back later. So that way I don't have to keep hunting around all the time for another Pokemon image. Now, in this case, I've already got an image for a Beedrill, so I can just right-click, duplicate layer, and then use my little tool here and move it over here. Otherwise, if it's a Pokemon that I don't have on my team, which, let's be honest, that's usually the case, you would just have to add in that image into the appropriate spot here. You change the name from Nagini to Hannah. Again, I do it after the first letter because then it keeps all my text stuff. Weird, quirky GIMP stuff. Again, not really covering that right now. Point is, we made the change. We're going to export as layout 03. That's all fine. Just click it. Now over here, I'm going to show you the other way of importing a file. We're going to go into graphics, and you'll see here is the image we just made. It's got Hannah instead of Neville, or instead of Nagini. Now the other way you can import is just click this and drag it in here. That automatically imported this new file. Very cool. So we need to change this layout for this one at this exact point. Now, to make sure that we work on this video track, you can click on V1 to kind of remove that one temporarily. Sometimes it seems like Lightworks doesn't know what track you're trying to change, so I would always recommend just click off the ones that you don't want to be editing in this particular moment so it knows what to do. In this case, we're going to open this up. This is the changed one, and we're going to replace into the targeted edit. Now, in general, what is the difference between these two? They both do almost the same thing. The short version is replace will kind of be like, think like you've got like a strip of film, and you replace it, you like put glue and glue over a section, so it will cover over this part. That's probably a terrible analogy. I apologize. But replace or insert will cut this part, so we'll put this clip in the middle here, but keep this end somewhere. That's kind of hard to explain. In this instance, we want to replace, though, because we don't need this part at the end anymore. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so now I can close this little viewer, and now here is the other part. See? So it goes from Nagini to right about there. Makes the change to Hannah. So this is how you make it so it's actually a changing, moving layout that adjusts with your team. Just whenever there is a change to your party or a change that needs to happen in your layout, hop over to GIMP, make the change, export it as a different image, and then import it into here, make the change. Now, you might have noticed a slight problem here is it just instantly goes from Nagini to Hannah. Now, that's okay, but we want to make it a little bit fancier. So to make it transition nicely, what you want to do is find your little mouse thing. Remember I showed you this like end part of the clip and then the middle part where you can move it like this. If you click right in between the two, you'll see that image. If you right click there, you can add a transition. You have a couple different things. The length in frames. For something like this, 30 or 20 is probably good. Position, either centered here, so it has a little bit on each side of the clip, to here or from here. Let's do centered here is good. And then dissolve is a perfectly good one. Luma wipes sometimes work. For this kind of thing, I wouldn't do push or squeeze or any of those. Let's just do dissolve. That works nicely. Now, you might not be able to see super well from this side. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. Now, watch what happens when Nagini is replaced with Hannah. You should have a nice, smooth transition. That looked so much nicer, and it was easy to do. Again, all you got to do is right-click in the area between, and it won't do it now, of course, because I've already got an effect there, but you just add a transition, and that's all you got to do for that. So you can now see another quick problem. If you look here, this clip of our new layout doesn't go all the way as long as we need. You'll see in a moment here, the layout will just drop off suddenly, right there. And the video is still going because we still have more of this clip, but there is no border, no layout. So we will need to extend this. Now remember I showed you the clicking on this like little end part? Click on that. That puts you into like a trimming mode. Now, when you're in this mode, you can then click and drag that clip to make it longer. And then when you're done, you can either click on that same kind of area again to join it, or you can hit that join button. Do that. Now that's a bit bigger. I would make it a little larger, click that again, extend it to right about the length of the other clip. We can deal with the details of exact later. Very cool. So now we've got this that will follow us all the way through this little surge battle. You see we got a couple different battles going on here, which is looking great. Again, we've got all the stuff everything you want to see in a nice layout, all using free software. Now, let's say, okay, I think coming up here after these two trainer battles, this chump who can't do a good Nuzlocke to save his life decides he's got, yeah, right around here. He heads out and goes back to heal up at the Pokemon Center. That inevitably happens to me, at least. So We don't necessarily want to show that in this video, so we're going to follow this guy until he gets right about to the door. And let's just... You can use these buttons here. We'll nudge 1 frame ahead or 1 frame back. These will go to the nearest cut or event mark. So on this part, it's like, say, the end of this clip or where there's a transition. So right here is where we want to start the cut. Remember these buttons? We used them before when we were viewing the initial clip. Using them now on the edit, because this is the edit viewer here. Let's mark this position. You can even see it down here. So that's going to show, okay. Now, you might notice too, I'm experiencing this, it happens a lot, is that sometimes when you're playing the edit, it stutters a bit, and sometimes the video part even just doesn't handle it as well. Keep in mind that this showing a video that you're working on takes a lot of processing power on your computer, might not go so smooth for you. Just do what you can. I'm going to click around here to find about where it is I get back. Looks like it's right around here. And as soon as that door closes and the screen goes dark, that's where we want to get back into the action, right here. I don't have to do this out mark, but I'm going to for the sake of this. Now, you'll see 2 very similar buttons to that insert and replace. This time we have remove and delete. Now, remove, similar, they were kind of the same, but in opposite, if that makes sense. Remove would remove what's in this space, but leave the space there. Let me show you. See, we now have empty space where that clip was. I'm going to Control Z, because that's actually not what I wanted. Since we want to remove that area entirely, we're going to do delete. Now you'll see it closed the gap. So it should go, if it doesn't lag on me here. Then you walk out the door, and then you're back. Now that was brilliant. That was a perfectly smooth transition, and that worked out really nice. In that case, we didn't even have to do any transitions because there was a natural break there. I'm going to show you, though, another point a little bit later here. Let's see, oh, another Pokemon Center run. Geez, this guy is pretty good at that. So we're going to show you that process again. As soon as the screen goes dark, do add an in mark. Find once he's done healing. Coming back. Looks like a few frames before here. And out mark. And then we're going to do delete. That should then cut it out nicely. Oh, yeah, there we go. See? Perfect. That way you don't bore your viewers with running back to the Pokemon Center if you just can't handle doing things. Which I know happens. I have to do that a lot. So, now there's this part where, okay, you have to go around, and if you remember this part of the game, I always hated this puzzle, Lieutenant Surge's, where you have to just keep searching in the trash, trying to find switches. There's so much luck involved, and it just takes too much time. So I don't want to subject my viewers to more of that than is needed. So I would say right around, once it's clear that this is not going to be fun, maybe after that guy tells you the secret, I will cut it out. Right here is a good spot. We're going to cut out all of this. It seems like forever. You can actually see, on a video editor like this, you can see literally how long it takes to do this puzzle. All right, clearly I'm fighting a gym leader here, so must be before then. Somewhere near here. There we go. So, I clearly find it somewhere along here. From the looks of it, let's find out. Okay, cool. So I'm going to actually cut a little bit before here, so that way the viewer can see me get the second one. Let's say right here. That should be good. I'm going to mark the out position, or even if I don't do that, it would assume where I currently have this thing set up would be the out mark. And we're going to once again delete. And that closes the gap and removes all that boring stuff. Now, look here though. This does not look as smooth. Suddenly it lags, but suddenly we're over here. And again, my computer is not able to show it perfectly because it's recording and doing all that. You get the idea, though. It goes from here to here without any kind of stuff. how you fix that is super simple. All you got to do is click on there, in between the two clips, add a transition, exactly the same as you did for the layout earlier. So that just makes a nice little transition. You can make it a little bit longer if you want, experiment with it, see what looks good. Now, you might also have to do a similar thing with an audio track if you have an audio track. This one doesn't. But you do the same thing. You'd click in between the two, and it would only has a crossfade option. That's really the only difference. There's not like, you can't do a Luma wipe with audio, so it's just crossfade. And that's all there is to that. So the only thing left is, if we go near the end here, there's going to be one last change to this video, and that is when we get the badge. Take the Thunder badge. So right on this, when it says, hey, take the Thunder badge, we are going to change the number of badges from 2 to 3. Pop on over to GIMP and change this. Add a 3, remove the 2 because GIMP is weird. Export as layout number 04. Go over to Lightworks again. Either hit import, or if you've got this open, just click and drag. And now you have that as a new clip. This is the one exactly the same, but it's got 3. Now, I don't want it to accidentally put it on my gameplay clip, because sometimes it'll do that. If I just do this and say, oh yeah, insert, yeah, see, it did it right there. This is exactly what I mean. It put it up there, which is not where I need it. So instead, we're going to hit this button to make it so that track is just not there. Then Lightworks will know that I want to put it below there on that spot. Replace. And make this visible again. And we'll want to add a little transition with the dissolve. And we should see, if you watch real closely, I'll make this a little bigger, hopefully it doesn't freeze out on me. You should see this change nice and smooth to a 3. Look at that, beautiful. Beautiful. And that's all there is to it. We'll just quickly wrap up this edit. Once I'm done here, I think right where this clip ends is where I want it to stop. Cool. Now, I just moved past that, so how do I get exactly to that point? These little arrows. Remember I said this goes back 1 frame or forward 1 frame? This goes back to the next cut or event. In this case, right there, right at the edge there. If you go 1 more back, you'll see that's there. Cool. So to make sure, sometimes you end up with a bit of extra stuff on the end. We're going to delete all of that so it ends right there. Mark that spot and jump forwards to the next event. So, see, look, I don't know how it gave me all this extra space. Sometimes it's because that was more from when editing. Who knows what. Mark the end and then delete because that will close that space. Boom. Now your video plays and it will go to that spot that you decided and then boom. Video done. So you just edited all this stuff. Now the last step, of course, is rendering it. And that you can do over on this little toolbar. Export, edits, clips, or bins. Click on that. The edit you want to be doing is the one you've been working on, which is this one. That's perfect. YouTube Max. Now you can only from the free version of Lightworks do 720p to YouTube. If you go to Vimeo and it has to upload directly to Vimeo, you can do 1080p, and that's kind of a hassle. You theoretically could upload it and then download it again, I guess. But for most people starting out, 720p is perfect. 30 frames per second is fine. You don't necessarily need to use mark section if you're going to do the whole clip. If you just want to make a render of part of it, then that's what you do. I don't. You don't need to upload to YouTube directly. I at least had trouble getting that to work. But I suppose if you can make it work, more power to you. So if you don't have this checked, then it will just go directly to a folder on your computer. You set it up, set the name here, whatever you want, and then hit start. And it will render this into a final video that you can then upload to YouTube and start your YouTube career, your Nuzlocke adventure. Let all of us watch it and absolutely leave a comment in the description of this video so I can know how this works for you. Anyway, that is all for the basics of making a Nuzlocke video, or editing a Nuzlocke video, using Lightworks. I'll be having more detailed things coming in the future on various different tasks, but I hope this has been really helpful for you. And if there's anything that this did not cover that you found that you need, please leave a comment so that I can actually get ideas of what future videos could be based on what you need. You know, I might not have thought of something that you might have a good idea for. Also, if this was helpful, be sure to hit that like button so I know that it was good. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you today. So until next time, catch you later, everybody.